Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Soccer for Us. I am Bart, and on this episode, we are talking about what is probably the most transparent roster we've had from Mauricio Pochettino in his time here. Certainly the one that seems like it has the most amount of his fingerprints on it since he has taken over for the U.S. men's national team, and it comes just 3 months ahead of the start of the 2026 World Cup. To talk about this roster and everything else going on in this window, it is the greatest historian on U.S. Soccer Twitter. It is Thomas, aka U.S. Keeper. Thomas, it is. Look, we got grass down here in Atlanta in the stadium. I know they're putting grass down up near you in Gillette. It is starting to come together, and now we have a roster that kind of feels like it maybe is the first real step toward a actual World Cup roster.
Yeah, I mean, definitely feeling like that for sure. I mean, there's definitely experimenting with player selection is those days are over. So I think it's time for these players to earn their spots and see what they can do. I mean, I think there's still, as Pochettino said, I think there's still opportunities for players to earn spots. I mean, there are some injuries we'll discuss, but I don't know what the provisional roster is for the World Cup. The last World Cup they didn't share that. I don't know if it's because of the short turnaround, that sort of thing. And sometimes that U.S. Soccer doesn't share it; it gets shared through FIFA or other sources. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up getting released in terms of the provisionals, because that's always interesting to see. But if it's 50 players, then that's not a huge, it's a huge number, and we've seen that in the past with some of these provisional rosters being massive. So that doesn't tell us too much about the actual depth.
We do know we get 26 players on the official roster for the World Cup, and then obviously 23 players for the match day and all that. So with that said, Mauricio Pochettino called in 27 guys. Really the only plus one is in the goalkeeper group, where he did bring in 4 guys, which, if I'm trying to remember, I even think a 4th goalkeeper may have gone to Qatar. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I know oftentimes, you might have a practice squad player who is a goalkeeper because it's easier to split players up and teams up when you have 4 goalkeepers. But again, this is very much a building block to the World Cup type of roster. And obviously, as you mentioned, there are some injuries, but we will get into those. Before we get into any of this, I don't know if you saw today, but CONCACAF posted a graphic with a teaser for the Gold Cup, saying that Saturday there'll be a big announcement, and it had the flag of Mexico on it. So, Thomas, does this mean for the first time in ever, the U.S. won't be hosting the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 2027?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility for that, and I think it's way past due for that. I mean, I think some of these nations, I mean, CONCACAF talks about trying to level the playing field and all these sorts of things, and in doing again, look, I understand it's a money thing for them, but there is a little fatigue here, with it. If you want to do you have
diminishing returns, right? How much is it money and how much people are getting tired of not going.
Right. So I think there's a little bit of a fatigue, and you create an urgency. If you want to have one of the 2 cycle Gold Cups played in the United States and the other one played at other nations, I think go for it. I mean, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think both can exist, and actually, I think it's helpful for the U.S. to play on the road in a different environment and that sort of thing. I mean, it's hard enough now to get the friendlies against quality teams consistently, based on the landscape of these different confederation tournaments, and other things going on. And I think this would be a good opportunity to have these players play in different environments, and maybe there's maybe it creates a little bit more urgency for players to want to play in in the tournament, to say, hey, we get to play in Canada, or we get to play in Jamaica, or some of these Caribbean nations where maybe they'll share some of the host duties. I think there's some opportunity there, so we'll see. I mean, I hopefully it can work out, and hopefully it's obviously makes sense and it's safe and all these things that the players want as well. So that's it'll be a good opportunity, and by that time you're going to I think MLS will be on a break. So
Oh, it'll be in that it'll be in that
yeah,
window of time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be the first Gold Cup that falls into that.
Yeah.
So you'll get um
We'll see. That's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
That is an
We'll see.
interesting note. Uh, I mean, let's think about this though for a second, because if you were to host the the Gold Cup in the U.S. in 2027, that would be 2028 counting backwards with the Olympics, which isn't quite nationwide, but a pretty large lift for soccer folks in this country. And there are obviously other venues outside of LA. 2027 Gold Cup, 2026 World Cup, 25 Gold Cup plus Club World Cup, 2024 Copa America, 2023 Gold Cup, and as well as every Nations League final, right? So that would have been 5 years straight of a quote major international tournament, summer international tournament played in the U.S. I'm fine with letting someone else host a tournament like that once in a while.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's only positives, to build off that. And look, I mean, Canada, I think hosted or partially hosts some of these ones, and I don't really
Yeah, they get
consider
like
that.
Toronto and Vancouver get a game
Yeah,
or
I
two.
mean,
Yeah.
if it's the whole thing, I think it's hard. Canada's big, but it doesn't have a lot of venues either. So it's the balance of being able to have.
Canada's hard because it is as big quote as the US, but like not as like the width of the US, sure, but in the US you can put like half the tournament between Kansas City, St. Louis, and Texas, and you'd be fine.
Right.
So yeah, that's tough. I've advocated. I think we've talked about this. I've tweeted it out. That I think that 2027 Gold Cup should have been in Canada. I think it makes sense if you really wanted to try to take advantage of the investment opportunity in that country. But Mexico has the infrastructure; they're ready to go. So, I mean, from that standpoint, you're not worried about stadiums, finding stadiums. You're
Yeah.
not worried about fans that are interested at all because, I mean, I'm sure the Mexican people will probably show up for a game if they're just somewhat interested. And there's also a great deal of Central American immigrants in Central America and Mexico, similar to obviously the U.S. So I don't know. I'm fine with it, but I saw that today and I was like, oh, they're gonna host the Gold Cup in Mexico. Watch us come Saturday and it'll be like nothing. Granted, I'll be not paying attention to what CONCACAF news is on Saturday. I'll be watching the U.S. play in my hometown. But yeah, it's just
Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, okay, well, maybe something different.
Yeah, I mean, who's see? Hopefully, I mean, they're to your point. They've got the infrastructure. I actually think they'll do well. Probably, maybe even better with the numbers. Honestly, um, yeah, but maybe not. It's hard to say. With the Concacaf tournament because there are some nations that are never going to draw, even in their own country, maybe. So
Yeah, we shall see. But it does look like CONCACAF might be changing things up a tad bit as we get past this 2026 World Cup, which is hosted basically by the entire confederation. All right, so that's really the only breaking news I have. Not even breaking, but the only news I have. Let's talk about this roster. Sound good?
sounds good.
All right, let's go through position by position, starting with our favorite position, the goalkeepers. As I mentioned, there are four that were called in. They are Chris Brady, Matt Freese, Patrick Schulte, and Matt Turner. Patrick Schulte was called up as Roman Celentano had to withdraw from risk of injury, which was a weird way to phrase it. He didn't play apparently over the weekend. Well, not apparently. He didn't play over the weekend, apparently due to the same type of not sure if he's injured type thing. I don't know. Hate that for him because that does seem like a missed opportunity to possibly show something in camp. But let's talk about the fact that there are four goalkeepers. It does seem like someone is going to get left off. But does it matter if Matt Freese plays both games? I don't like. Does that tell you anything? I don't know.
So I mean, I look at it this way: like Pochettino has had four keepers play under him, right? Freeze, Schulte, Stefan, and Turner, right? He's had four play under him, right? Freeze has had 13 of those 22 matches, and seven have gone to Turner, and then one for Schulte, and then one for Stefan. So to me, I mean, I kind of want to see Turner and Freeze play. I mean, personally, I think you need to see them both play. I don't think he will. I think he's going to go with Freeze. But I look at it this way though: if Freeze, I mean, Freeze has not wowed me in anything he's done with under Pochettino. He's been fine,
No, he
but
hasn't.
he hasn't
He
wowed me.
had the penalty shootout win against Costa Rica in the Gold Cup. Now I'm
Yes,
meshing my
Costa Rica.
yeah, it was Costa Rica.
Yeah, 4-3.
Not that that doesn't mean anything, right? But like, I take your point of he hasn't really done anything in an actual game to go, that's our dude.
Right. I mean, he had that moment, which again, I said it before, I'll say it again. Turner had that same moment 2 years before that, right? Obviously, Pochettino wasn't the coach at the time, but he had the same moment, right? So to me, there's nothing that makes either any of these keepers stand out to me. I think the challenge obviously Turner's performance against Switzerland left a bad taste in everyone's
It was a
mouth.
bad turn. It was a bad performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but again, as a goalkeeper, you can't, not all good things or bad things are blamed on the goalkeeper, right? Like, goalkeepers can concede goals, but they can be tough goals. I mean, that they're giving up, and so
Yeah.
even the greatest goalkeepers in the world, come across that. So again, how that's evaluated, to me, it's the confidence that the goalkeeper has back there with their defense. How does their defense feel with this? And is this team going to speak up and say, look, coach, if Freeze starts and doesn't play well in the first match, the leaders on this team go to Pochettino and say, hey, look, we just don't, Freeze doesn't have, the thing for us, right? I don't know. I mean, the team has spoken up about certain things, the
Yeah.
kits being one of them, and I know that's not, coaching, but when it comes to coaching decisions, I think the leaders of the team have that maybe obligation if they feel that things aren't going to be, they're comfortable with players in those situations. So I think it's important for that communication to happen, and the coach can make the decision
Yeah.
based on that. Because I think some of this gets clouded a little bit, like along the way. I mean, he's had a run. I mean, Freeze has had a run, but in that run of 12 in a row, he's only had what, three shutouts, I think. So three shutouts in
Yeah.
those 12 matches, and I mean, and that's not,
Right.
that's
I
just
mean,
it's just what it is. But when you're looking at those things in general against, some good opponents and some not so good opponents too, right? And there's been multiple losses in there, as well. So yeah, I mean, there's no hands down starter here. I'll go back to my Turner thing. He went through a World Cup qualifier. He played in a World Cup to me, and he's playing
yeah.
okay with his club right now. And Freeze isn't, you know, doing anything great. So I think he gets at least one start for sure. But
I mean, he's getting roasted right now on Twitter for that free kick goal he conceded to Messi. It was a major deflection, but he did get two hands to it.
yeah,
I
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that weighs in with coaches, right? Like, so you go back to '94. There was a huge, battle between Tony Miola and Brad Friedel. Friedel was killing it in practices, right?
yeah.
And Miola was terrible. But when it came to the games, Friedel just could not make the saves that he needed to, and Miola was, and that was ultimately the decision, um, and the reason why they went with Miola over Brad Friedel in 1994. So, what we're not seeing in practices, maybe there's something in there that we're not seeing, or maybe
Yeah.
he's already made his mind up. Because I think in a lot of respects, Pochettino has made his mind up about most positions. I think when it comes to starting, depending on who it is and
Yeah.
what the opponent is. But who knows? I mean,
It's weird that this is something he's been so steadfast on, though, to be just blunt,
yeah,
right? Because, again, I don't think Freeze has been like untouchable in a game by any stretch. He's been above average. Okay, great. It's not like he has really good stats in MLS. For what? and I hate to say that, but it's like, okay, well, what is that showing for it? I mean, this year he's only got one shutout, which to your point is not necessarily on him, but like, sure, he makes some good saves, that's fine, but like, I don't know. There's a lot more. I mean, you and I both know there's a lot more to goalkeeping than keeping the ball out of the back of the net. In fact, there's a lot more to goalkeeping than just shot stopping, because keeping the ball out of the back of the net requires a lot of things before a shot is even taken, and a lot of goalkeeping is not just that. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I genuinely don't know why this feels like such a foregone conclusion that Matt Freese is our starter come June. I don't get it.
yeah. It again, it's a head scratcher considering how many keepers he's actually brought into the pool, right? I mean, he's brought a lot of keepers into
Yeah.
camp, and you figure, hey, if you're bringing a keeper in, like you obviously feel like you need to see something from them. And again, how much you take away from training, I don't know. Like, I mean, that's with goalies, it's a little bit different. I mean, it's hard sometimes to judge training with goalies because some of that stuff is I mean, is tough. It's not game like. You know what I mean? It's not game like.
It's right, because look, you can go through all the training drills, and don't get me wrong, they're very important, right? I mean, these drills are important for technique to make sure you are prepared to make those saves in the game. But like, being able to shuttle through cones faster than the other guy doesn't necessarily mean that you're a better fit to be a goalkeeper in the game. I don't know.
Yeah, and so there's something he's seeing and that we're not. Maybe
Yeah.
communication. Again, he's going to be tested in these matches, and I think, or whoever's playing is going to be tested in these matches. I assume he'll get one, if not both. And we'll see. I mean, because I guess the question I have is if he concedes 3, 4, 5 goals in one of these matches, I mean, does that change his mind?
I mean, yeah. Let's be just blunt. Like the game against Switzerland, in which Matt Turner gave up 4 goals. Yes, he did not play well. We looked like crap up and down the field, and that was in Matt Turner's defense, that was with a Gold Cup squad, a rotated Gold Cup squad, by the way, like a second choice in a lot of positions, playing against the first choice Switzerland team. If and I don't know, I'm not saying this is or isn't, but like, we're playing Portugal and Belgium, right? With for the most part, our number ones going against a lot of their first choice guys too. So I am very curious how Matt Freese performs, because he's never had anything to this level yet. And to your point, Matt Turner has. And granted, yes, I get that he did not look good against Panama and maybe Canada, but mostly Panama in that, Nations League finals. He didn't look great against Switzerland. I'm not saying that that's not true. Matt Freese hasn't faced anything like that at all. The best he's faced is a Mexico team in the Gold Cup final,
Right.
and which we lost. Not his fault, but we lost. I'm just, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason he's been running him out there is to try to get him that experience. But again, even these friendlies aren't going to have that level of intensity, right? Of a World Cup road qualifier, of a first round group stage
Yeah.
match,
I
right? And
mean,
so you can't
we did get
simulate
wins
that.
over Australia and Paraguay. That's teams that were playing in the group stage. That's fair. But to your point, like, what was the intensity of that? Just to be blunt, what
Well, right,
was yeah.
and
I don't
that
know.
goes for any position we
That's a
talk
lot of
about
goalkeeper
too.
talk.
Yeah, and that goes for any
Yeah, no,
position
no,
we
no.
talk
That's a
about.
good point. That's a great point.
Right. Right, because
Uh,
because that level of intensity is going to be there higher. We
yeah,
played some of these teams recently that that are in our group. Trust me, it's not going to be easy. It's going to the
no.
level of intensity is going to be through the roof, and these players need to be ready. You cannot take any of that for granted. You got to play them like you haven't played them before.
That Paraguay match was snippy at best,
Right.
and really kind of overblown at the end. And that was a friendly. So imagine what an actual World Cup game will be like with them. Let's move up the field then and talk about the 9 defenders Pochettino called in. We have Max Arson, Alex Freeman, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Anthony Robinson, he is back, Miles Robinson, Joe Scally, and Austin Trusty. Now, let's talk real quickly and get the Jedi stuff out of the way. I'm going to be very uh, surprised if he plays more than 45 minutes this window.
Yeah, I mean that seems reasonable. I mean, I'm not really fully clear on what his fitness is. I don't know if he's not playing because he's not performing. I'm not really, what I mean. There is some
It's not because of performance. I don't know what Fulham just seems to be like. Well, he's kind of mostly fit. I don't know.
Yeah, so I would agree. I think we'll see that for some other players too, and we'll get to as well. I mean, maybe he just gets 45 in each match, which I think is reasonable. I think you kind of want to see the different rotation options and who's going to fill in different
Well, I
spots.
don't want to see 180 minutes of Max Arfston. So I will
No,
say
no,
that.
few do. I mean,
I'm not excited about that. But I mean, look, I'm also understanding of the reality of Jedi Robinson needs to be healthy in June. He doesn't need to be healthy in March. I don't. So and as long as he plays for a little bit, I think that's all we need to see. The other, obviously, I think give and take here is we get Jedi back, but we lose Serginho Dest, who is out with a hamstring injury toward until probably the end of April for PSV. This is interesting because again, I don't think Max Arfson is in any way, shape, or form a quality replacement to Jedi Robinson. I think it's fair to say there are okay replacements on the right side for Serginho Dest. I don't think any of them can do what Serginho Dest does. Like that's full stop. But there are three guys who can provide different types of replacement for Serginho Dest, and from what we've seen, play them fairly okay.
yeah, I think the challenge is this is like and we really haven't seen this, and maybe we only get to see it in the World Cup, right? Like, what does it look like when you have two wing backs
Yeah.
pushing forward, right, and providing that drive up the wing, right? Like, what does that look like um, for this team? And I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Scally does that. I don't think Freeman does that. Like Des does it. I mean, does Weah find his way there? I don't know. I mean, he's not listed under there, but that doesn't mean anything. We've seen many rosters
No.
released where players are playing, different positions than they're listed under, which it is what it is. But like, you know, what what does that look like? And and maybe it's to our advantage that we haven't been able to have a lot of film or any film with that sort of formation and the weapon of what it might end up being. Uh, but you have to think that the team's going to play differently when you're playing a top 10 ranked FIFA team, right? Like it's so, and this is where the coaching has to be a little bit smarter, a little bit different. What is your coaching style going to be against a top tier nation? How are you going to position your because maybe it's not a back three anymore, right? Maybe it's a back four. I mean, I don't know, but it's gonna be you've got to play a different style of soccer because you're not the best team on the field, right? You're not even equal to these teams, and so how are you going to find a way to
Yep.
win? Um, you know, these matches, and I think that's the things he's got to experiment, and that's why like as much as I'd like them to win one or both or Taiwan or both, you kind of have to get a taste of like how you're going to compete
Yes.
against these nations. And I think that's what this is kind of looking at. I mean, because the eyeball test is going to tell you a lot, I think,
Mm-hmm.
about how they're going to play, what their tactics going to be, how they're going to line up on offense and defense, because it is going to be different.
I mean, to your point, right? Both of these teams are obviously better than us. That's just like I, that's not a hot take by any stretch of the imagination. And so when you have a guy like Tim Weah, who is more than the other two, maybe used to playing at a higher level because he has Champions League experience. Joe Scally, who has been a Bundesliga starter for what feels like a decade, even though it's only been like 3 years. Um, and then Alex Freeman, who is a very promising young player. Again, it just makes me feel slightly better that one of those three will prove themselves up to the task in some way. If, but like Serginho does should be back, and that's again the question is, well, if we're playing a 3-4-3, how does that work? If we're playing a 4 3-3-4-5-1, whatever you want to call it. How does that work with the outside backs? Because you're right, we haven't really seen at all under Pochettino both fullbacks get high. I mean, most of the Gold Cup was Alex Freeman staying back as that right center back. You know, he played right back, but he kind of stayed home. And Arfston got high because Arfston doesn't defend. He can't defend. He's incapable of it. It's not a skill he possesses. But that is that what we're gonna have to see again? But with like maybe Jedi on occasion? Because that doesn't answer what does that look like at the World Cup.
Yeah, and we won't see it necessarily. I mean, if maybe you do. Maybe with Weah in Jedi, you get to see it for 45 minutes, right?
I mean,
Maybe
Freeman isn't incapable of getting up the line. Like that's what he did very well at Orlando. He scored lots of goals that way. So I mean, between Freeman and Weah, you're right. Maybe that's the like for like more for Dest. It's like, well, get forward, son. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you have to try it in general because you still have to conceptually get some film on it and understand what it might look like, even if it's just taking certain moments and doing that.
When I look at our opponents for the group stage, they're very good, but we are going to have to score goals against them because they're going to sit back, right? Australia and Paraguay both in the games we played showed more of a proclivity to be defensive minded. Now, Paraguay's defense is different. I don't think they'll necessarily bunker. Australia will, but you're going to need to get numbers forward. You just can't sit three center backs back there and go, well, we'll break them down somehow, especially against Australia. So I don't know. And I would like to at least try it. But, do you make that risk against Belgium and Portugal when the guys on their left side, our right side, are pretty darn good too,
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to try things because I mean, if this team has any shot of taking a deep run, you've got to see what's going to work and what's not, right?
Mm.
And so to get a feel of that sort of thing and to build that game plan, because I think that's what you have to do at the World Cup in these tournaments. You've got to figure out, hey, how much, we don't match up well here, but we can this here we match up with, and maybe figure out how to piece that. And I think that's where we will see how prepared Pochettino and his staff is to see what sort of plan they have to keep these teams in this match close. I mean, these could go bad very quickly. I don't, again, it's not going to have the level of intensity of a World Cup, but it's gonna, we'll know when we see it whether or not that's there. And I think that's one of the things that we look at the Uruguay game. Go back and look at that. It was a nice
Mm-hmm.
win. Uruguay really kind of just took the foot off the gas there a little bit and just didn't. They kind of stopped playing. And it's a nice win and all those other things, but it definitely had the feel of like, yeah, they just didn't care at the end of it.
Um, the next real question, obviously, of this group is the center backs because we talk about people getting tested. Chris Richards is going to be tested. I know he goes through a lot in the Premier League, but he's going to get really tested in these. And anyone who plays next to him is going to be tested as well because Romelu Lukaku is likely starting. He's still a player for Belgium. He's a handful. They have talent across that forward line. Portugal still has great talent across their forward line. And just to be blunt, I've used that word a lot this episode. To be direct, is Tim Ream the guy to do that?
Yeah, I mean, he has not shown well in the last couple of years. He's had moments, fine, but he's not. It's not Tim Ream of 4 years ago. I wish it was, because that Tim Ream was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And I just it's a problem of quality. It's a problem of depth. And so I look at this group and I say, geez, Richards is very good. Mark McKenzie, I think he's still to be determined. And then you kind of go down the line and say, yeah, Miles Robinson. I mean, he hasn't shown me anything. He's been horrible.
He's been not great this year in MLS.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
right.
I'm not gonna say he's been horrible or bad, but he's been like not to the level you would want.
Right.
Your dude who's about to go to the World Cup.
Yeah, and I understand the team is struggling, and it's not all one player. I get that. So the question I have, and I brought this up, and I know other, soccer fans have brought this up, but like who is Scally? Is Alex Freeman? Are they the right center back option, or is someone like Tanner Tessman, which I don't think in this camp will
I
probably
don't
get
think
the
so.
look, because I think you need him, you know,
Th-
in a different spot. But
I don't
like,
think so.
are they options, right?
Yeah.
To play that spot a little bit, right? To have that depth there, because to me, I think Scally did okay in the last camp. Freeman does okay in that right center back position.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? And I think we'll see some of that here. And I don't think Trusty's good enough. I don't think McKenzie. I think
If you're going to tell me
yeah.
Miles Robinson isn't good enough, then Austin Trusty's not good enough.
Oh yeah, I don't think Trusty is scares me too. I mean, again, if they can focus and have their have a match, have the moment,
Yeah.
fine. But
I would
you could
argue
see
I would
that.
rather Miles Robinson than Trusty, because at least with Miles Robinson, I know he does give you at least a singular like characteristic better than just about anyone else. He's very fast and he is actually a decent 1v1 defender, but like
Yeah,
he's
Trusty
not
scares
great.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, Trusty scares
Trusty.
me.
Yeah, I think he's just honestly he's just next in line after CCV,
Yeah.
who's not coming back, and I kind of want to see Mark McKenzie a little bit more. Honestly, I think that's the one player in this group I want to see uh,
Yeah.
a little bit more in there, whether it's on the right or left side of Richards.
This brings up the next question about this defensive pool, and it's we don't get no key banks, no Akai banks, no key banks. I don't know why we have to. Anyway, we didn't get no key banks to commit yet, I think is the way to put it. Obviously, he is starting for a Bundesliga side, so I get why he and his people are not ready to commit to the United States. If he does feel like there's a possibility he'll play with Germany, because let's be honest, if you can be a starter for the German national team or a starter for the U.S. national team, one of those is much more prestige, and one of those is likely to win you trophies that matter, not 3 gold cups a cycle or whatever. But I want to say this to Noki Banks is that if you want to be remembered as a hero for a national team, you have a better chance of doing that for the U.S. national team.
Right, I would agree with that. I mean, I think the look I don't
He's
find it.
18.
Well, that's the thing. There's a couple different things, right? He's 18, 19 years old, right? Like in his mind, he's potentially going to have other opportunities, and Pochettino's going to be gone after this cycle anyway,
Yep.
and so like that, so like he's not going to burn that bridge necessarily. So if he decides not to do anything, that's maybe the best move. That
Yeah.
being said, I mean, I do want our dual nationals. I want as many dual nationals as we can get in our pool. However, you do want the ones that want to be there, right? It's the
That's a
Julian
fair. Yes, that's absolutely fair.
Right. The Julian Green situation, he was promised a roster spot if he did that. There's no question in my mind when that
I
happened. And to
agree.
me, that one
Agree.
definitely left a bad taste in my mouth. And obviously, that impacted Landon Donovan, being selected to the roster, and he didn't amount to anything. Sorry, Julian Green. I mean,
He
he had
didn't. I mean, he did score a goal, but the question is, okay, well, he scored the one. A, would Landon Donovan not have also found a goal in that game? And B, would Landon Donovan not have also helped us
right.
literally at any other part of the tournament?
Well, that's the thing, because I don't think you could trust Green. I mean, he didn't. I'm not sure he even got in before that point in the
Mm-mm.
tournament, right? So when you look at those sorts of things, I think Banks definitely has the skill set and the ability to start and certainly come off the bench. Um, in terms of everything we've seen, he's playing first division in Germany.
Yeah.
But he's got to want it, right? He's going to want to play for the red, white, and blue, the stars and stripes, right? He's got to want to play for us. And if he doesn't have that, then I don't want to force it on that. It is one of those
No.
things where it's getting a little tired of a conversation. I hope he is comfortable with the decision he makes, because it's as a player you don't know, you could get called. He could be this. He could play in 5 World Cups, potentially.
I
Um,
mean, if he were to commit now, you're right, because you're talking, I think he'll be 19 by that point in time. And, it's not crazy to say he could be playing 20 years
yeah,
from now.
and a set.
Not crazy.
Well, Tim Reen. I mean,
Yeah, you know.
he's 38, right?
But I think it's also part of the point is he is young. He feels he has more World Cups coming up for him. I mean, that's a duh. Um, and I with you, I do not want to promise someone a roster spot at the World Cup or anything. I think that is
No.
dirty recruiting. Looking at you, Mexico, and I think you have to be real with them. I mean, I think the real conversation would be I think you have a chance to start for this team. You have every right to compete for a starting spot. That doesn't guarantee you'll win it, but like if I'm evaluating the pool, I'd at least like to see him. But that
Well,
doesn't
that's
mean that he needs to come in. That's just
yeah,
because that's a him decision. It's just a him decision.
yeah, and that's the problem too. Like the camp he got into, he was only rostered on one of the matches, didn't get any time, and
Yeah.
maybe it's by choice. But I mean, he's already a U.S. You know, there's no one time switch. None of that stuff has to happen, right, for him to play for the
Yeah,
U.S.
he is ours if we want him.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So there's none of that gonna happen. And I look, I respect him waiting. He is a young kid, right? Like, I mean, you don't want to make a gut decision to do this. But I mean, Germany's deep. I mean, like, and so you have to kind of weigh all those things. And we've lost dual nationals along the way. Mostly, Mexico ones that we've seen, but Mexico does it the wrong way, right? They cap tie the player, promise him all these things, and then they're gone forever, right? I mean, there's a lot of players like that they've done that with, and you know, you know,
Yeah.
maybe they have
A
their
lot of
moment.
them at our expense, to be
Well,
honest.
who's the
Jonathan Gonzalez is probably the one that is the most
right?
like biggest example who
Yeah,
didn't really amount to anything but was ours. Efra Alvarez is one recently. Jonathan Gomez as well, the right back. I don't know if that's I don't.
yeah,
I'm not going to say he's. Uh, None of these guys I don't think are factors right now, but that's to me is like if you're not a factor right now for the U.S. national team, how are you a factor for the Mexican national team? I mean, we're fairly equitable. We're fairly equal opponents. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't
I
know.
mean,
I just
yeah, it's a hard thing. The dual national thing is frustrating because we that's what we kind of built it on, right? We look at like 90, 94, 96, like we pulled in a lot of dual nationals,
yeah.
because that's all we could do. Thomas Dooley, Roy Reguly. I mean, there's a lot of players in there that like
Yeah.
we pulled in, um,
I
because
mean, Ernie Stewart's probably the most
yeah,
famous of like.
yeah,
I mean, he's been involved with U.S. soccer for a long time. Yeah, or was I should say. Yeah. I all I just want to say is I think there's reason to be worried, but I think ultimately the decision does lie with him. We should not be promising him anything other than the realistic opportunity to compete for a starting spot, which again, I'm not saying he's like definitively better than anyone because I haven't been able to say, okay, well, let's compare them in a red, white, and blue shirt. But I feel confident he'd probably be better than most of these guys. But that doesn't mean anything. And he's going to make the decision when and how he wants to make it. And he can because he's young enough to have to be able to wait.
absolutely. So, well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, we find out one way or the other, before we get to May 26th, whether or not
I mean,
he's
maybe he decides by then. He's like, hey, actually, I do kind of want in. Now,
yeah.
to me, that would be a little bit of a red flag of like, oh, now you want in? Um, you didn't really put in any work because I do think Pochettino would value that. But Pochettino is not that dumb. But I do kind of think if he says before the May roster, he's like, actually, hey, I do want to commit and I want to play for the U.S. If I'm Pochettino, who doesn't have the like, I he is not responsible for the future of the program the way that like other coaches would be, right? His job is very much play well at this World Cup. However, it's fair to say that an Okai Banks would make your team better. Like,
Well,
I
yeah.
think that's a fair statement. But
I
I
mean,
could understand him being upset, like, oh, well, now you want to come in? You didn't do, like, we had all these other opportunities for you to come in, get close to the team, understand what we do here. I mean, I could see him leaving him off because he's like, no, that's not how this is supposed to happen. And I couldn't blame him, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and the challenge is how do you build that continuity with an 18-year-old back there, and
Yeah.
when you haven't played any matches together, because what we've seen,
Or
at
been
least
in camps together.
yeah, what we've seen with the U.S. is that continuity does get built over time for positions, especially center backs, and that communication is critical back there. Um, but I mean, if he wants to be here, we'll be happy to have him. So we'll just
Yeah.
see how it plays out. I mean, I like to think he's probably going to have a pretty good idea after this window, where things stand a little bit as it relates to that.
Well, for the
Because
U.S., yes. I don't know about Germany though, to be
no, but what I'm saying, but
quite
but for the
honest.
World Cup, I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to
Yeah.
hold. I'm not making any
Yeah.
decisions. U.S. Sorry, you're just going to have to wait, which is fine. I think that's a fine. It's not
Yeah.
popular. Again, he's 18, 19 years old. He's
Yeah. He's 19 years old, 6 foot
yeah,
4. I
yeah.
don't know.
So
Maybe could help. Yeah.
yeah.
I just maybe. Well, enough about people who aren't here. Let's go to another player who's not here. The midfielders: Sebastian Berhalter, Johnny Cardoso, Weston McKennie, Aiden Morris, Gio Reyna, Christian Roldan, Tanner Tessman, Malik Tillman. Those are your midfielders. There are 8 of them. And obviously, one name we did not call is Tyler Adams. He is not injured, but not healthy, I think is the best way to put it as well. For Bournemouth, he's been in and out of the matchday squad dealing with injuries of sorts. He technically is listed as out with a knock, but I think that's more just like him in that recovery process from his injury earlier. So with that, Thomas, I feel like we just have a list of redundant players. Berhalter, Cardoso, Morris, Roldan, Tessman. One of those guys moves me, and not very much.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think this is where some of these players, we'll talk about some of the forwards, like where they slot in back and forth, right? So some of these players, can play different positions too. So I mean, you know, I kind of was a little surprised Jack McGlynn wasn't called in. We've seen Sebastian Berhalter. McGlynn's been playing well. Um, Pochettino seemed to like him. He got injured at
Yeah.
the end there. To me, he was a player that he might have wanted to take another look at. That he could have brought in for sure. So I think I think this is a critical camp. Adams is in there. Who partners with likely Tessman back there? Is it going to be Johnny? Is it going to be Morris? Could it be McKinney? I don't know. Like I mean, to me, the two players that I just don't to me they just don't jive is the Rodon and Berhalter. Like one is a one trick pony, clearly. Again,
Yeah.
he's having a good MLS season so far, and the other one is a vibes guy, right? And so, and to me, I don't think I want to waste 2 spots on kind of that sort of thing, right? To me, there are multiple options. I would rather have, you know, in that spot. I would rather have McGlynn. I would even rather have Musa. I would say over one of
Well,
those two
there's the
players too,
guy.
right?
There's the guy that I conceptually don't understand why Yunus Musa is not in this team. Period. And this is one of the greatest faults of Pochettino is because he's only played Musa as a right winger or a right midfielder. He has yet to play him. He never played him, I should say, as like a central midfielder. And I'm not saying that he's by no means a Tyler Adams replacement, but if you were to say, okay, the Tyler Adams replacement is probably Tanner Tessman, right? I think that's fair. Maybe Johnny Cardoso. Musa next to them is really helpful at ball progression. You know what I'm saying?
He is. I mean, I honestly, I think his absence stems back to the Gold Cup,
Yeah. Yeah.
the Gold Cup piece of it. I think that, I mean, and I honestly, to me, I get it. Like, I get not bringing him in because, I mean, there was he wasn't overplayed. I mean, like, it was only an opportunity for him to get some minutes to
Yeah.
play to show Pochettino what he could do. To me, that's crazy. Like, he screwed it up for himself,
Yeah, he did, but
right?
I
And yeah,
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Joe
yeah,
Scally got another chance.
he did, and I
Christian
am,
Pulisic is back in. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I am surprised he has not gotten another look, honestly. And this might be the window you do it, right? He'd been playing pretty well with his club. He'd been getting a couple goals off the bench. He was building confidence, and to me, like that may have been an opportunity to say, you know what? You could
Mm-hmm.
bring him in. You know what Berhalter is. You know what Roldan is. Bring him in for one or the other of those players just to get one last look at him, to see how he fits, because he was a core guy for a while. I mean, he's starter at the last World Cup, and I don't think that can be overlooked for a player that's he's what 22 years old, whatever he is. I mean, um, yeah. So I think it's a squad that's there. I think for me,
Yep.
him and McGlynn are kind of the only, if you're looking at a 6'8" type of position, are kind of maybe just the ones that are missing from that group.
Yeah, I think Musa is just this. I don't really understand why he's just been excommunicated, essentially. But a guy like Christian Rodon just really makes the locker room great. So we got to have him here because
Yeah,
what
but
else? He's
yeah,
been
that one there. There's another.
marginally okay for Seattle. Sorry, I'm just gonna say it. He hasn't been. Seattle's been good. He's been an okay part of that. Like I will say, Sebastian Berhalter has been more integral to Vancouver's good play so far this season than Christian Rodon has to Seattle's, in my opinion.
Well, maybe it's the intangibles. I don't know when it comes to
Yeah, maybe he brings the damn speaker. I don't know.
something. I just don't know. Like,
Like
I mean,
no one, like he can't share his Spotify playlist with Tim Weyer or something. Like I don't understand this. Is he's the dude with the aux? I don't get it. I don't get why he is this some in valuable, undroppable player on this damn national team that can't get rid of a guy who's, and I don't mean this as a slur, but like an MLS lifer who is above average in the domestic league at 30 years old.
and that's generous being above average. I don't think he's, I mean, he didn't play. Did he play? I don't think he played in the last World Cup. Like
No,
he was away from the national team for 2 years, and
and that's my look. I'm sorry. The experience and all that veteran presence. We have almost a full starting 11 of guys who have played in the World Cup. We do not need a dude who was just along for the ride because for some reason he, I don't know, made cool jokes in the locker room. I don't get it. I just do not understand the need to have a dude like that on the team. I just don't.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't either. Like you want quality. You want, again, to me, you have to look at a player and say, can this player be inserted into a starting lineup and be impactful, to help a team win, right? But to me, that's how you have to look at the depth. Here's my ideal starting 11, and in each position, you know, where this player slots in, and could they give you a start in a World Cup
Right.
if needed, and you have a chance to win, right? And I don't think he can do that. I mean, I don't. He doesn't offer anything. He's never scored a goal with a national team. He's starting to become the
He has
DeAndre
two
Yed,
assists, and
right?
one of them at
Yeah,
least was last time he played. So there's that going for him. He had an
yeah,
assist against Australia. Woo.
yeah. Yeah, he's becoming the DeAndre Yedlin of this generation, right? A player that just comes in and just can't really have any sort of moments or score any goals or do anything that's going to matter. And even if he does that in this window, I
The
just don't think
difference is at least DeAndre Yedlin filled a not a hole, but like, okay, we got to have someone who's a right back, and no one else was like screaming for that job. As I just listed out a bunch of guys who can play that role that are not Christian Roldan, you know?
Oh, I get it. I mean, it's yeah.
I mean, there are people in MLS I would prefer over Christian Roldan. That's the sad part. I mean, you mentioned Jack McGlynn, right? Keaton Parks up in New York City is still one that I'm like, I know he's been on and off hurt a lot throughout his career that I'm like, he's just as good. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, if
I don't know.
James Sands hadn't gotten injured, I wonder where if he gets
Great
called in or
shout.
not, right? You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
don't
I
know.
mean,
Yeah.
he's very similar to Tanner Tessman, in a lot of ways. To me, they very mirror one another. I mean, Busio another one, right? I mean, he hadn't really got much of a look. Um,
Yeah.
he's another one that kind of fits into that little mold, in that position. So we'll see. I mean, it's coaches have their tendencies, coaches have their preferences, and I think it'll be something that we question forever, right? In terms of what that looks like for any team. And it's always head scratching, I think, sometimes to figure out why it is they bring in the players they do.
Let's talk about the rest or the other half of this, not even half group, but the attacking side of the midfield. Look, Weston McKennie's listed as a midfielder. I'm very interested to see how that actually plays out. Again, that formation is going to be interesting. But then you also have Gio Reyna and Malik Tillman. And I'm going to be honest, like if you're playing the 4-3-3 with like the double pivot and an attacking mid, I'm putting Weston McKennie there. He's balling, right? But if you're playing the 4-3-3, I'm putting a Weston McKennie at like the tucked in right sided attacking player. Like I don't know where I'm gonna be blunt. I don't know where Gio Reyna finds minutes in this camp because unless we are playing kind of that more diamond midfield, I don't really see him being all that effective anywhere else. And I think Malik Tillman deserves Malik. I don't know what it is today. Deserves to play over Gio because he plays soccer on a week to week basis. I'm not mad Gio's in the lineup or in the roster. I just don't really know what we're going to learn because I don't know how much he's going to play.
Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, I'm glad he's here. I think he should be here. I think it's just gonna be, again. I think really what it comes down is what tactics are they gonna roll out for these matches, and I think really. I think it's going to be something different. I don't think it's going to be the three back. I think we're going to see some sort of four back with a double pivot. That's what I'm thinking we'll end up seeing. Um, and I think to that point you'll have McKinney playing that kind of attacking midfielder position, which again he's been killing it with his club, in a similar part of the field. So
Mm-hmm.
have him there. Who's on the right wing now? I don't know. Is it Weah? Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Is it Aronson? Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
Well,
There's
I mean, that goes down back to the question of what's the formation,
right.
because this is where you talk about names on a paper and positions. If it's the 4-3-3, the 4-3-3, I think Weston is your attacking mid. You're right, and I would put Weah as your wide right spot. But if you're playing a 3-4-3, I mean, Weston and Christian Pulisic have to be your two
Right.
tucked in wingers, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's what you'd expect to see. I mean, again, maybe you see a hybrid of it, right? I mean, I think we'll see different variations of
Yeah.
formations, and um, yeah, I think
I
that's
would
what I'm
like to see
looking.
both of them at some point. I agree.
Yeah, I think you need to see both of them. I think you want to try it out to see how effective
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be, right? Again, against better teams. I mean, top. I mean,
Yeah.
I posted this week. This we have not played a lot of back-to-back matches against top 10 FIFA teams, and when we have, they haven't overly fared well. I think the last
Yeah.
time was the last match of the cycle, which is against France, a 1-1 tie, and then we lost to Brazil 2-0. I think at the beginning of the first match of the 2022
That was the
cycle.
20, as I said, that was the 2028, 2018, 2022 like
Right.
cycle
Yeah.
change, where
Yeah. It was.
2018 was, we were just I mean, we were just happy that we were like, where the hell were these kids?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
that,
Right.
that was Grandpa Dave Saracen era.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and you take that for what it is, but though you played those matches, and before that, then you have
Yeah.
to go back to 2016 Copa America when you played Colombia and Argentina back to back,
That's
both
true. Yep.
losses,
Yep.
right? And then I think 2015 they ended up winning back to back matches, road matches against Netherlands and Germany, maybe. So
Italy? When did we
uh,
beat Italy under Klinsmann? Because I feel like that was that. But anyway, right.
yeah,
We
yeah.
don't.
So
We do not get to do this often.
well, that's the thing, and I think that's you take that opportunity and you figure out how you're gonna. Yeah, it was Netherlands and Germany in the June of
Makes sense.
2015. Um, Italy was probably in. Uh, can't see it here, but yeah, I think you're gonna have to try a bunch of different things out there to really see what connects and what's gonna work. Uh,
let's finish this off with the players who are called in with the forward. 6 of them: Brendan Aronson, Patrick Augumeng. Now with Derby County, I think this is the last time we talked about him. Valerian Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, and Tim Weah. So again, Tim Weah is listed as a forward. I think you and I are both understanding that that probably is just going to be anywhere up and down that right side that he plays. Um, Brendo listed as a forward is a little telling. That's kind of, I mean, he's been playing basically attacking mid at Leeds, but it is telling. No Haji Wright, apparently injured and did not play this weekend, so that's why we get Big Pat. I don't know. To me, you, I would just start Flair and Balogun in both games. I'm just gonna be real honest. I like Pepe. I think he should get minutes. I think Big Pat can get minutes, but like I think you want as much time on the field for Balogun, Pulisic, and whoever else is that third attacking player to to find a way to cook together. You know?
Yeah, I think. I mean, we've said it a lot. It's finding that striker, right, to be able to get them the ball, serve them the ball in dangerous spots in the field, right. And Balogun has been doing great with his club. He obviously played at a high level at Copa America 2 years ago, and I think we have to see that we've got to find different ways to score, um, and it's got to. I think you've got to go through your striker, and I think you've got two good ones in Balogun and Pepe for sure. That I'm comfortable with, and that I think can do that in some different ways. Um, you're right though. I mean, Balogun has. I think you want to kind of keep that hot streak going for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. We haven't seen a lot of it, so I don't know. But like, I don't know how effective he is off the bench, right? If he's coming off the bench in 75th minute, like what he can provide. We've seen it with Pepe, and we've seen that Pepe can do that, and we've seen that Pepe can score and create big moments in doing that. So, as much as he might not agree with it or like it, that may be his best role on this roster is coming
Yeah.
off the bench, uh, and providing that go ahead goal or insurance goal in a match, for the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I think I see his best role is coming off the bench. Both Big Pat and Ricardo Pepi like do provide something different, but for me, Valerian Balogun is your starter. That's just where we're at. Again, I I'm curious because McKinney and Tillman both also kind of fit into that like, well, they're probably actually attackers, not really midfielders. Like if you're playing again the 3-4-3, Tillman's going to slot in as one of those tucked in attacking players. So that kind of does distort a little bit the quote forwards line. But look, this is about as expected. The only thing I would have some quibble with, and we can talk about some of the, I guess, snubs, if you will, is I am a little concerned that we don't have Alejandro Zendejas just as like an actual winger. Um, the only real winger on this is, I mean, you have Pulisic, he's your winger, and then on the right side it's Tim Weah. That's it. So I don't know. That's a little concerning to me.
Yeah, he's the only one that really, was. I mean, I can't say surprising. I think Luna's injured, or just
Luna's
coming
injured
back.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah, coming back from injuries. And Dejas, I mean, as far as I know, he's
another one who's
healthy.
like coming back from injury, but like
Yeah,
has played. I don't know.
yeah. I mean,
Been
it's
playing,
again. I think when you look at this, the whole depth of it. I mean, there's only like
playing in
four,
every one of their
five,
matches this month.
right,
I
six
don't know.
players that could go either direction, right? We talked about this
Yeah.
in other podcasts about like a player that's like right there, right on that cusp of like being in or being out, and so um, it's yeah. I would Zendejas. I mean, the question is okay, if Zendejas is in, who's out, right? So I think that's the question you have to ask.
Christian Roldan.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but like when
And that's, I mean, that brings up the next question because we talked about Yunus Musa. I mean, in this squad, I would have dropped Morris and Roldan, put in Musa and Zendejas. To be, I think that makes it A, more balanced, and B, gives you 2 better players than Morris and Roldan.
right,
No
yeah,
shade to either of them. I just think that Musa is a better player than both of them, and I think Zendejas is better in the terms of the team than those two are.
Right. And again, Musa again provides more depth, like than any of the than Rodon or
Yeah,
even Berhalter, right? Those
the
guys
dude
can.
who has played in a World Cup game, by the way, like
Yeah,
four of them.
right. And again, that's he burned some bridge there. I don't really
Yeah,
understand why he did it, and but there's always a chance, right? I mean, the injuries pop up, and it's gonna come down to the wire, right? I mean, it's gonna be. I'm very curious to see how players play towards the end of their club seasons too.
mm,
If the matches don't matter and they're already locked in to a certain spot in their in their table, what that looks like. Because Plisic last year played a couple meaningless matches at the end of the season and then said he needed to rest over the summer. So I mean, I'd be shocked if players don't get the necessary rest they need if their team doesn't need them to win the league or get to a Champions League spot or prevent relegation, of course, uh, along the way. So
yep. Any other player? I mean, you mentioned Jack McGlenn. Is that like really a? Are you holding out for him?
no, to me he's a fringe player that I know uh, Pochettino wanted to see later in the
Okay.
year last year, and he just had an injury. I have to go back and look at my notes, but I think he got called into the October camp maybe or September camp, and I think he sustained an injury, and maybe he was on
Mm,
the original roster and just got pulled. I can't remember, but to me, he's one of those players that I think you wanted to see. He's healthy now and seems like he's doing all right for the season. Um,
yeah.
I mean, as far as the other, I mean, I don't think so. Unless there's some injuries along the way, I don't think Sargent is going to see any time.
No. No.
You know what I mean? Like I think for the most
No.
part, you've got about 5 or 6 players that either because of injury or or whatever, are just kind of on that fringe
Yeah.
on either side of you know of making like the last 4 or 5 roster spots. And I think we've kind of mentioned them all. I think the only other thing too you have to look at is maybe this John Tolkien as an example, because he's another fullback option. What that would potentially be to get
Yeah.
him in there, right? Like, because I mean, we haven't seen many other fullbacks, right, be pulled into the
Especially on the
into
left side. I mean,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, it's to your point earlier. I think if Dest is healthy and Jedi isn't, then Dest goes to the left and way out
I
or
feel
someone
more
else,
confident with whoever plays on the right side. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Freeman or Scally or whoever it is. It's yeah. I think I've got this Excel spreadsheet in front of me with kind of like 45 players, 46 players on it
Yeah.
that are kind of what it's going to be unless you know he pulls in a total crazy pick that no one even is looking at this point.
Yeah. We are about to play the number 9 and the number 6 teams in the world, Thomas. Despite whatever ranking system you want to put out there, these two teams are darn good. Way better than we are. I think it's very fair to say, top to bottom. So, to that said, I am not out here trying to find ways to rotate the squad. I do think there are ways to maybe make position battle decisions, but for me, you got to put your best 11 out for both games. So that question then begs, what is your best 11 out of this group?
Uh, formation matters. I'm gonna go with a 4-2-3-1 formation.
Okay,
Right.
that's fine.
So if it's me starting it, I'm gonna start Matt Turner. I think it's gonna be Freeze, but I would start Matt Turner. Um, I think Freeman is gonna get the start at the right fullback position, and
Okay,
I would start Richards and McKenzie. I think Ream gets the start over McKenzie. I think it's going to
probably.
be Tessman and Johnny, maybe.
I don't
You know,
know.
yeah. At the holding midfielders, I don't know. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I'm not
We did
confident in
see
that.
Testman and Morris start in, what was that, October?
Right. So maybe he goes with
I don't
that.
know.
And Morris
I don't
wasn't
know.
great in that. Um,
Yeah.
and then
No, he
from left to
wasn't.
right, you got Pulisic on the left wing. I would put McKennie central, and then I would put Way on the right with Volligan up top. That's what I
Yeah.
would probably do on that.
I agree with that. So I'm going to go give my 3-4-3, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I would do for 3-4-3, my center backs would be McKenzie, Richards, and then Freeman, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Given I don't think Jedi is playing a lot, so just pretend he is my best option at left back, right, of the left winger, right? But I'm not banking on him playing, so I'm caveating that. Tim Weah, and then I would put Testament and Cardoso in the middle. I don't love that because it's not a lot of like actual ball progression, but it is what it is. And I am I'm being a little realistic and saying Arfson as left wing back just because I'm not confident that Jedi is like 100% ready to go. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But he's better. He's in my best 11. I'm just saying that, like, factoring that in. Then the attacking trio would be Pulisic left, McKinney right, and Balogun central.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that too. I mean,
I could see Roldan and or Berhalter getting starts next to Tessman or Cardoso. I think you're likely getting Tessman or Cardoso, and then one of those two guys. The problem is, I think you got to see Cardoso and Tessman together because one of those is probably starting next to Adams.
correct. Yes, I would say that's likely to happen.
And I think
Yeah,
Cardoso is the most Tyler Adams-y of all of them, like actually defensive midfielder guy.
yeah. I think what worries me about the central, while we with the selections they have here, is defensively, right? Like I don't think Berhalter can defend very well. Morris is, 50-50 at
Yeah.
best. Um,
Morris hustles, but he's not like hustle doesn't mean you win the balls back.
right, and I think that's
Cardoso can win like Cardoso's the best defensive option we have for sure.
right, which is why I kind of like him in that
Yeah.
spot. So it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see what he ends up lining up with. He'll try different combinations, which I'm somewhat okay with. To me, I think it's more of a sub thing. Hey, what's this player look like in a sub situation? Coming in, partnering with a Testament or a Cardoso, right? And but I think he's got to roll these guys out there for at least 60, I would say, before he starts really dumping these players in there. I mean, you've got to give them that chance to build that continuity there. I mean, and I'll be honest with you too. Adams has gotten lost, and we've said this before, but he's gotten lost in Pochettino's system. He hasn't done much. So I don't know if we're missing out on him or not, but he's definitely not stood out at any point. And that again, maybe that changes if it's a different formation against a top tier team. Maybe he has different moments. I just don't know.
Yeah.
If he can figure that out. I mean, he's definitely a player I want on the roster. I don't know if he starts, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we just haven't seen him enough. I mean, I don't know how many rosters he's been on. He played in September against Japan, started both those matches in Japan, played about 60 plus minutes, both Japan and South Korea. Oh geez, I forgot he was on the Gold Cup roster.
Right. And I think that's my concern is he was and didn't really do a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, and that speaks a lot. The fact that I didn't remember he was on the Gold Cup roster,
yeah,
kind of says, well, geez, the guy, even against lesser quality opponents, didn't really stand out to me.
That just kind of feels where we're at right now. So, we have 2 games, like I said, against very good teams, numbers 9 and 6, respectively. hopefully these guys can use that to get some experience. Hopefully we aren't just experimenting all over the place. I think we are at the point where we have to, as we've talked about on this show, we have to actually try things that we're going to try at the World Cup. Um, put the guys out there that you think are going to be there. The ones who earn it in camp, or the ones that you think are the best to play the game. Um, we will talk to you all after this window against these two teams. Thomas, anything coming down the pipe on your end?
Yeah, I'm still working on this striker piece. I probably won't. It probably won't come out till after this window here. It's there's a lot of research just trying to get some break it down. But it'll be they'll be coming out there, and a couple other things, and as I mentioned earlier about snubs and that sort of thing. I'm not sure when that will drop. I'm trying to find the right time, probably before the roster drops on the 26th, so we have a better idea. Because I'm sure there'll be leaks as always with who's making the roster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Thomas, for joining me to talk about the roster for these March friendlies. Thank you, everyone, for listening. You can follow Thomas on Twitter at USKeeper. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Soccer4UsPod. I'm Bart. I'm out.